Hello, good morning, dear Swift learners. How are you all? I hope that you all are fine, safe, and sound at your homes. And I, Ritika, am back with another new session for you all today. And I will be telling you what we are going to study today. But before that, we will be seeing what is Swiflearn actually all about. Swiflearn, it is India's most sincere learning destination wherein we provide the classes for grade 1 to grade 10. There you will be getting 100% live interactive classes in which you will be connecting with your teachers through audio and video calls. Plus you will also have attention batches, personalized attention batches with 6 students so that every teacher can pay attention on you. Apart from the teachers, we also give an academic mentor to each student which will be guiding you throughout your chapters, which will be tracking your progress and helping you throughout your entire journey. Then we also cover your syllabus as per your school exam schedule so that you can perform amazingly there also. Then there are some of the key features which make Swiflearn all the more special. Like we have detailed progress report. That is this progress report. It is not just ordinary progress report, but it will contain everything from your attendance, from your participation in the class, from your attempts of practice test, etc. So all the things you will be getting. You can also take unlimited practice tests which are of two types, objective and subjective. Okay, so subjective test will further help you in answer writing, and you can also take part in Swiflearn academic test series which are kind of scholarship tests. Okay, so what are you waiting for? Just go and book your free trial class on Swiflearn. But before that, stay here to see what are we going to learn today. Kindly subscribe to the channel of Swiflearn so that you do not miss out on any update, because amazing lessons, as you know, they are going on Swiflearn. Okay, so we were studying about classification, okay, and we learned about many things in our first two sessions, and now it is time to learn a bit more, and that is why we are switching on to session number 3. So what are the things that we are going to cover in this today's chapter? It is kingdom Plantae, right? So today we are going to focus on Algae, Angiosperms, Gymnosperms, Monocot and Dicot. So these are the things that we are going to cover, but let us revise a bit about whatever we studied in our last class. So we studied about amoeba, movement, excretion, reproduction, etc. So let us see how does the movement occurs in amoeba. So amoeba moves through its pseudopodia. Okay, so what happens? The cytoplasm of amoeba, it pushes the plasma membrane outward and inward. Okay, so it creates formation of a blunt and finger-like projection which helps in the movement. Next, talking about the pseudopodia, it's not that there will be only one or two pseudopodia, but it can be multiple pseudopodia at one particular time. So that is why its shape keep on changing rapidly. So this is how amoeba looks, but it's not necessary, because as I told you, its shape continuously changes, and there are some of the parts which we got to see, like food vacuole. These are pseudopodia. This is the nucleus, cytoplasm. Then we have all this contractile vacuole which is responsible for excretion, etc. Now, so after a brief account of 5 kingdom classification, we are explaining 2 system classification system in broad sense. So here we have kingdom Plantae and kingdom Animalia, in which we are going to focus on kingdom Plantae for today. So kingdom Plantae means all the plants that we see around us. Okay, so it includes all the plants that we see around us. Okay, they can be multicellular, they are eukaryotic, and they have a rigid structure. Okay, and obviously they contain a cell wall. Okay, so their cell membrane, let's see if this is the cell membrane of any plant cell, then it will be covered by a rigid structure like this. Okay, and that structure, it is known as cell wall. So plant cell, they possess a cell wall. Okay, and obviously they have green colored pigment which is called chlorophyll, and which is very important for performing photosynthesis. Next, they are non-motile, they cannot move. they can reproduce sexually as well as asexually, and they follow autotrophic mode of nutrition. That is, they do not depend on anyone else for their nutrition, they make their own food. Next is they are multicellular eukaryotes with the cell wall vacuole well defined. Okay, these contain photosynthetic pigments which are known chlorophyll in chloroplast. Okay, and they are different. They have different organelles for anchorage, reproduction, support, and photosynthesis. So we can say they are well developed. Now, in kingdom Plantae, we again have a classification of algae, bryophyta, pteridophyta, gymnosperms, and angiosperms. So these are the 5 classifications, and we are going to start with algae. Now, obviously, every one of you might have seen in some lakes, ponds, oceans, etc., the green color layer which covers the water, right? So that are algae. So algae are, they exist in environment. They can exist in oceans, rivers, ponds, lakes, brackish waters, and even snow. Okay, they are normally green. Okay, we usually see algae as green in color, but they are also found in variety of colors. Okay, like for example, if I talk about algae which are present in snow environment, okay, so they contain this pigment known as carotenoid. Okay, so with chlorophyll they also have carotenoid, and it gives a reddish color to that algae. Okay, now since algae contains chlorophyll, they can make their own food. Okay, they are chlorophyllous, they are non-vascular. Okay, that is, they do not have xylem and phloem. Okay, they can either be unicellular or they can also be multicellular. It's not necessary of any one type. They lack a well-defined body, so they do not possess any root, leaf, flower, stem, etc. So they do not have a well-defined body. Next, algae, they are normally found where there is a good amount of moisture present. Okay, and talking about their reproduction habits, they can go for sexual and asexual reproduction both. Okay, talking about asexual reproduction, they go for spore formation. Okay, as we saw in bread molds also, fungus. So algae, they are basically free living. Okay, and sometimes they can also go for symbiotic relationship with other organisms. Normally we have 2 type of algae, which are aquatic and terrestrial. Okay, and talking about aquatic, we have marine algae and freshwater algae. Okay, since they have chlorophyll, okay, so they are autotrophs because they have all the necessary pigments which are required to make their own food. Okay, if I talk about some of the if I talk about some of the examples, we have Spirogyra and Eulothrix. Okay, they can show sexual mode also and asexual mode also of reproduction. So these are some of the examples of algae. Nostoc, you can see it here. Then Spirogyra, these are very sticky kind. Then diatoms, duckweed. Okay, so these are some of the type of examples. Now there is a bit of difference between algae and fungi, and we cannot compare both of them. So let us see what is the basic difference between algae and fungi. So talking about algae, these are large groups of photosynthetic organisms. Okay, they are not necessary that they are very closely related, and thus they are polyphyletic. Okay, that means algae prepare their own food. Okay, they undergo photosynthesis process. Talking about fungi, okay, so they are the member of this eukaryotic organisms, and they have various microorganisms coming under them. We can talk about yeast, mold, or some mushrooms also. Okay, so they cannot prepare their first of all own food. Talking about algae, they undergo photosynthesis. Now, talking about algae and fungi, again difference. So the algae's body, it is not very well differentiated. Okay, so it is the roots, the stem, the leaves, the fruits, they are not very well defined. Then algae belong to the kingdom which is known as kingdom Protista. They are autotrophic since they perform photosynthesis and strictly exist in bodies of water and any environment with high moisture content. So they need moisture to develop themselves, and they are not parasitic. Talking about fungi, Their body is composed of these thread-like structure which are known as mycelium. Okay, first of all they were classified under kingdom Protista, but now they have their own category which is fungi kingdom. They are heterotrophic, that is they feed on dead and decaying organic matter. They cannot form their own food always, and they are found everywhere. They do not need a particular kind of environment. Okay, and some members of fungi, they are parasitic. Now talking about bryophyta. So these are some of the simplest land plants, and some of the damp and shady places we can find bryophyta very easily. Okay, so these are simple plants. Okay, and their tissues, okay, strengthening and conducting tissues, they are either absent or poorly developed. They are not very well developed. Okay, and they are also known as non-vascular amphibious plant because they do not have very well defined xylem or phloem. Now, some of the characteristics of bryophyta are they normally occur in damp and shady kind of places. Okay, alteration of generation in which gametophyte generation is dominant. So this particular generation known as gametophyte, it is dominant. Okay, and gametophytic plant body thyloid or folioid. Now, they do not possess vascular tissues. Okay, some of the examples are Riccia and Marchantia. So what happens here, xylem and phloem they are not very well defined. Okay, so that is why they do not have vascular tissues. Now talking about pteridophyta. Okay, so this particular division we also call them as vascular plants because here the vascular tissues, that is xylem and phloem, they start appearing. Okay, and this is how we differentiate pteridophytes from algae and bryophytes. So these are some of the examples. Like if I talk about mosses, we have Polytrichum sphagnum, we have Selaginella, and we have Lysopodium. And talking about ferns, we have Azolla, we have Pteris, we have Pteridium, we have Equiseiditae. Now, mosses. So mosses are the kind of plants which you will be finding in damp and kind of shaded areas. Okay, and their plant body is thallus-like, that is erect and prostrate. Okay, so they will be like straight. Okay, and it is attached to substratum by rhizoids which are unicellular or multicellular. Okay, so they are attached to kind of surface, lower surface, by rhizoids which may be multicellular or unicellular. Now fern. So the pteridophytes, they were the first true land plants. What happened? It was, and it is spectaculated that our life, all the lives, they begin in the oceans. And okay, and it took millions and millions of years for evolution to occur, and slowly, life slowly started adapting to dry climate also. Okay, and among them who were firstly adapted to these climates were the true land plants. Okay, which were known as pteridophytes. Now, some of the characteristics of ferns are they are seedless, vascular cryptogams, then they show true alternation of generation, they have true root, they have true stem, leaves, they are differentiable. Then spore developed in sporangia are homosporous and heterosporous. Okay, so these are the spores which develop in sporangia. Talking about angio and gymnosperms, what is meant by them? So angio and gymnosperms, these are seed bearing the plant. Okay, and they have this natural ability to produce seed. Okay, which is actually surrounded by a nutritive tissue. Okay, and it is coated by a seed coat. So gymnosperms, these were the plant present 200 million years ago before angiosperms plants. So angiosperms, they are much more developed. Let us see how. So the main difference between angiosperm and gymnosperm, it's diversity. Okay, so angiosperms, they are much more diverse than gymnosperms. Okay, and the higher diversity indicated the angiosperms are adaptive to terrestrial ecosystem. Since they are more adapting, that is why they are highly diverse. Next, another characteristic of angiosperms is flowers and production of fruits. Okay, but in gymnosperms, seed are not included in the fruit. So we will be seeing what is the basic difference. Now, gymnosperms are the plants that have a well-defined body, the well-differentiated plant body. They have vascular tissues, they bear seeds. Okay, and the word gymnosperm means, gymno means naked, and sperms means sperma. It's a Greek word, it means seed. Okay, so naked seed means their seeds are not enclosed inside a fruit. Okay, they are perennial evergreen woody trees. Okay, for example, pine, deodar, redwood, etc. These are example of gymnosperms. Talking about angiosperms, so angio means closed. Okay, so angio means covered or closed, and again sperma means seed. So angiosperms, these plant seed are covered inside a fruit, and that is why they are called so. So they are commonly known as flowering plant, which we can say mango tree, pomegranate tree, apple tree. Okay, so their seeds are enclosed in a fruit. Okay, and their seeds germinate from embryonic leaves called cotyledons. Now, what are cotyledons and how many type of cotyledons do we have? Let us see. But before that, let's have a quick revision on angio and gymnosperms. So angiosperms, their seed is produced by flowering plants, which is enclosed within an ovary. Okay, the life cycle of these plants are seasonal, like talking about various type of trees. Okay, their leaves are flattened shape, triploid tissue they have, hardwood type, they are a bit of hardwood. Okay, and their reproduction rely on animals. So how does it rely on animals? Because they are carrier of seeds. Okay, and their reproduction system, it can be unisexual also and bisexual also, and their reproductive parts, they are present in the flowers. Talking about gymnosperms, they are non-flowering plants, and their seeds are not enclosed within a fruit. These are evergreen plants which have haploid tissue. Okay, and their leaves are a bit needle like if I talk about leaves, they will be this needle like and very pointed ends they will be having. Okay, they are softwood type, and their reproduction particularly relies on wind, because they do not possess any fruit or anything like that, and their reproductive system comes present in cones, and they are unisexual. Now we just saw cotyledons, okay, which are present in the seed. So angiosperms, we can again divide them into two types, that is monocots or monocotyledons, or dicots and dicotyledons. Let's see what do we mean by each of them. So monocots look somewhat like this, which has endosperm, cotyledon, seed coat, radicle, epicotyle, embryo, and hypocotyle. And talking about dicot, it looks somewhat like this. Okay, we will be seeing in detail what is the difference between both of them. Now, monocots, their seed, it has one cotyledon, and dicot, it has two cotyledon. You can see it over here. Monocots, their roots are generally fibrous root, and in dicots we have tap root, in which one is the main root and other are the secondary roots. Then the vascular tissue, it is scattered as in case of monocots, but in dicot it is ringed. Okay, a particular shape is given. Then leaf of monocot, they have parallel veins, you can see it over here, and in dicots they have branched veins. Okay, you can see the branches arising here. And flowers of monocots, they are always in multiple of 3, like 3, 6, etc. And dicots, they have 4 to 5 petals of flowers. Now list the characteristics of angiosperms. So angiosperms, they are seed bearing plant. Their seeds are enclosed inside a fruit. Okay, they have a well differentiated plant body. Okay, with root, stem, leaves, flower, etc. and they produce flower during their lifespan. Okay, and we just now saw that they have 2 subtypes, which is monocot and dicot. Now give difference between monocot and dicot plant. So if I talk about monocot, they have one cotyledon. Their roots are fibrous kind of roots. Okay, then their leaves have parallel kind of structure, parallel veins, and their petal on the flowers, they are in multiple of 3. Talking about dicots, they have 2 cotyledons. Okay, their root system is generally tap root system, in which one is primary and other are secondary roots arising from that. Then their leaves have branched veins. Okay, I'll just show you over here. So if their leaves veins go like this. Okay, so it is kind of branched veins, and their flowers have 4 to 5 petals. Now describe this and give the characteristic of both. So if I talk about the first one, it is fern. Okay, so these are seedless and vascular cryptogams. Okay, they have true leaves, true stem, roots, etc., etc. So they have true differentiated body. Then spores developed in sporangia, they are homosporous and heterosporous. So this is fern. And talking about here, we have algae, which are present in moist kind of environment. Okay, they have their own chlorophyll. Okay, they can prepare their own food, so they are chlorophyllous, and they are non-vascular, that is they do not have differentiated xylem and phloem. They lack a well defined body. Okay, and they need adequate moisture to grow, and they can follow asexual and sexual both mode of reproduction. Okay, now let us see. Okay, which are also called flowering plants. So if I talk about flowering plants, we have angiosperms. Okay, so they are also known as flowering plants. Then we have next question. Algae belong to the kingdom dash. So algae are from kingdom Protista. Then we have algae are found where there is adequate moisture. Very true. And fern is an example of bryophyta. No, it is the false answer. Okay. Okay, it's just S problem. It is angiosperm. Okay, then what are the things that we have covered today? We have covered about algae, we have covered about angiosperm and gymnosperms, and we learned about cotyledons, that is there are of two types, monocots and dicots. Okay, so I hope you might have understood everything that we have learned today. We will be taking this chapter forward in our next sessions, in which we will be learning a bit more about all these things. If you have missed out on any video, you can just go to Swiflearn channel. All the videos are listed there. Please go, please watch, and please book your free trial class on Swiflearn, because there are few slots left. So let's meet in the next class. Till then, take care of yourself, keep studying. Bye bye, take care.